Okay.
So, good morning. Good morning, guys. Glad to have you. Happy 2024, and thank you guys for joining us for the first presentation of 2024. My name is Oscar Garcia. I'm your host, and welcome to the community. Just a little few updates this year. We do have a lot of exciting content to share with you guys. Our focus will be on data engineering. We do have a session that's going to show up. It's going to start at the end of the January. We also have a lot of artificial intelligence presentations and web development presentations. So join us. Keep an eye on us. Keep an eye on the community portal for our communications and our updates and all the presentations that we have. Today, we have Deepa with us. She's going to talk to us about app development using cross-platform tooling that looks like exciting. You can do mobile development, web development, and what have you. So it's a great presentation for those that are more focused on the app development side of things. So we're going to let her take over that. So Deep, are you ready for this? Let us know when you're ready, okay? Did we lose you? I think we lost her. Okay, let's just give her a minute to join us back. You guys, from everyone that's here joining us today, anyone familiar with this tools and platform? Welcome back. Welcome. So you can take over the floor now. Okay.
I am trying from my laptop, but hopefully it works this time.
Okay.
Otherwise, I just have the presentation that I can share it with you.
That's fine if you talk through it. I mean, at least give us some introduction.
Yeah. Sure.
So the floor is yours. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing, and thank you guys for joining us. This is Deepa now.
Okay. Can you enable screen share? Okay, cool. Okay. Hopefully you can. This thing is very weird. Okay, let's try this now. Can you see my screen now?
Beautiful, yes.
Okay, cool. Finally, I have something here. Okay, cool. I just have to make sure that you guys can see it. I'll also share the presentation at the end too. Happy New Year to all of you. Thanks a lot for thanks a lot for patiently waiting. Welcome all. And let's see how this thing. Sorry about this whole mess. Okay, so welcome to everybody. This is a beginner session for Flutter, and myself. My name is Deepa. I'm a Google developer expert in web technologies, and I'm also an ambassador at Women Tech Makers, organizer at GDG San Jose. And here's a LinkedIn QR code. I'll also share it at the end. And every slide would have my LinkedIn handle on the top right corner. Just give me a minute. Let me put my laptop. Okay, cool. So before we get into this agenda, I'm assuming that you have some experience in OOPS concepts, programming language. You have built in a website or a mobile app, some kind of styling, So these are the assumptions that I'm going with. So just to give you a start on this intro, we'll just talk about Flutter, what is it? And then we'll also talk about Dart. We'll talk about Flutter architecture, what are widgets, and we'll see how to create small list and screen navigation. I have all these demos or whatever that I'm going to show. It's all in my slide. I will share the slide at the end. Okay, cool. So I'm seeing two screens actually. Okay, this is because it's this thing. Okay, before we start talking about Flutter, there are some challenges that happens in app development per se. So this is particularly in any platforms that you are native applications that you are starting with, you need to have, uh, it is the metal approach is the native approach where you can build quality applications and you can also build high performant UIs. However, you need to maintain two code bases. You have to invest in two different teams, and different mobile per se or OEMs. Um, you have to make sure that the feature parity is there. There's a lot of this is one way of approaching, and then came cross platform approaches. You can do fast iterations on them, you can prototype fast, it is single code base. However, some feel that it's the performance wise it is a little um, unpredictable, and it doesn't have that native look or feel, right? So, just to give you a visual as how this cross platform all started, they started with Iconic. And then in 2011, React came, React Native came, and then Xamarin, all these things. Around 2015 is when Flutter came. And there's also a new one that's coming up, which is called as Kotlin Multi-Platform and Mobi for .NET. So these are some of the popular cross-platform frameworks that are available in the market today. So, what is Flutter now, right? On the left, you see this guy. His name is Eric. He used to work at Google. He was a co-founder of Flutter. Right now, I think he has his own company. He's doing something with Flutter Enterprise per se. So now, what is Flutter, right? So Flutter is an open source framework by Google. It allows software engineers to build beautiful applications natively compiled, and it also supports multi-platform applications from a single code base. So that's a whole idea about this, right? A lot of inspiration came for Flutter from React. So if you know a little bit of React, then it's very transferable, and we'll talk about it real quick. So version history, this was internally called as in 2014. This whole thing started, and then internally at Google, there were rumors or people started talking about Sky or the Sky engine, which then was officially announced in April of 2015. So as you can see, the timeline started off with mobile support first, and then they added support for web and desktop in 2021, and in 2022 they had Windows support, and for Mac OS, Linux, and whatnot in 2022 as well. Today we have version 3.13, I think. So it's a major refresh of Flutter for mainly for casual games toolkit, and then a lot of Material UI updates as well, right? So before we get started, so Flutter on mobile. So when you want to build for all as one team, you could use Flutter, and it can reach your you know you can reach addressable market from day one by targeting users on both ecosystems, again from a single code base. You can unite your mobile development team resources towards building one seamless customer experience. And the best part is that you can release simultaneously on iOS and Android with feature parity for best experience for all your users. So it comes without any compromise. So that's when people started using Flutter on mobile first, right? And then Flutter on web, right? Web itself is a flexible platform. I come from that area. But Flutter is ideal for building web applications like progressive web apps or single page applications, and bringing your existing mobile app to the web. And you can also prototype faster, reach more users due to shared code base, right? Again, um, it talks about, it is all from a single code base. We'll see that in a moment. And Flutter on desktop. So it is built for performance. You can get natively compiled performance without large browser engine dependencies. You can target more across users like Windows, Mac users, and Linux too. So you can develop apps and have them in these stores and reach out to your users. So the native functionality, underlying APIs like Windows 32, Cocoa, and then Unix platform APIs. You have access towards all these underlying APIs too, right? So why use Flutter at the end? So we can build. We talked about, it's portable, it's beautiful, it's faster, and it's productive, and it's open source. So if you have done anything with React, this is very easy for you to um, uh, you know write it in web, or if you're a native mobile developer, then it's also easy as well. So like I said, beautiful applications, no compromises for your designers. And you can also so now what makes Flutter more what is Dart, right? Dart is a Flutter power. Flutter is powered by Dart, and it's a language optimized for fast applications on any platform. So it has got solid type system, solid null safety, and it has got rich core libraries. And this is what runs Flutter, makes it beautiful with this language. So it's very similar to Java and JavaScript. If you know either one of them, it is very easy for you to catch up as well. So Flutter as a language, it can paint the UI, very well, and then it has got something. It is just in time. It has got just in time compilation, and it's ahead of time as well. So before we just watch this video, if you look into this, how does hot reload? This is an old video, but then you don't need to press the hot reload button. However, if you just save it now, it just automatically refreshes. This is a little bit older video that I picked up from online, but however, when we do this, you can see it how fast it is. So if you take a look at this, so they're changing the text here. So when you click on that reload button, it immediately shows up. Currently, it's not the case. You just have to say Control S, and then it automatically hot reloads. So this is one of the best thing. You don't have to compile it, wait for the grader. It's still the first load would be a little slower, but then the subsequent one will be faster for mobile. So I did have some, initially the last time when I tried using a Android device and getting it built. So it does take the first time, it would take some time, but then after that, the subsequent reloads should be pretty faster. So now moving on to the next topic that we plan to talk today is the Flutter architecture. So Flutter has a layered architecture. So imagine I put it as an analogy for the cake one, because it is also three-tier. It's stuck, it gets very well with my head. I can wrap it around. So at the bottom layer, you have this something called as embedder. This is platform specific embedders, which provide an entry point and coordinate with the respective operating system services like rendering, storage, and more. So it has embedders for possible targeted platforms, and the embedders uses Java and C++ for Android, and Objective-C and C++ for iOS and macOS, and C++ for Linux and Windows. So we would not be interacting much with this per se. However, understand that this is one of the building blocks of Flutter. So next layer is going to be the engine layer. This is the core of Flutter that is written in C, C++. It is responsible for taking input, output, and the composited scenes as Flutter is a UI toolkit. Basically, it uses Skia library for for desktop platforms or other platforms. Currently, it uses Impeller for iOS rendering for graphics, and the 3.13 version is also supporting Android as well. So they changed the rendering for mobile. It could be either Skia or Impeller. Skia is a 2D library where you can get much more rich UI. You can build it. You can build beautiful web applications using it. You can use like a Google Earth one or a Photoshop like applications using the Skia one. So for mobile, they are currently using Impeller. So the engine layer is also responsible for service and network protocol, such as network input, output, file management, and core APIs of Flutter. So it can be accessed through this engine can be accessed through the UI library, which wraps up all the functionalities in Dart classes. So now on the top layer is what we will be looking at today. It is the framework layer the developer interacts with and writes Flutter application. It is written in Dart language and it has predefined libraries, layouts, and more. So just to give you what the framework layer contains three more layer components. So one is the foundation one, and then rendering, and then you have the foundation one would have um, building block services, and it provides abstraction. It is mainly for animations and gestures. Animations such as if you have ever developed with the CSS one, you would know transform, fade in, yeah, and it has also tween and hero, a lot more. A lot of something related to physics is all in that foundation layer. So the gesture widget is a widget that we'll talk about widget um, very soon, but then understand that this is one of the things that would help you in dragging, tapping, scaling, etc. So, and on the rendering layer is the one that would, this is the layer responsible for converting all the widget. We'll talk about what is a widget in a moment, which paints your screen with paints the whole screen with pixels and showing them on all the elements are shown, right? It takes a tree of rendering objects called widget tree. We'll talk about it in a moment. And this is the one that renders the UI, right? And on top of it is the widget layer. So now comes to a point that what we're going to be talking about widget. So the foundation layer, just to give you a visual, it is so you can see this amazing scroll and then animations here. And then if you see, I don't know whether you can see this clearly, but there's a zoom in, zoom out. There's this, the animation of those circles as well. And understand that this is coming from the framework, the top layer of it, right? So now, what are widgets, right? Widgets are building blocks of a Flutter application. If you come from the web development area, a widget is like component in React.js, right? In Flutter, we use these for reusable. We use these reusable widget to make the widget tree, and each widget is immutable. Immutable declaration of UI. We'll see that. And together, if you put collectively everything together, it looks like a widget tree, very close to your component tree in React. So Flutter is basically took a lot of inspiration from React. So very similar, but the naming is different a little bit. And then it uses something called as Material UI for Android and Cupertino for iOS or macOS libraries to provide predefined widget on the layout design. So widgets are everything. Like everything is a widget. The app is a widget. Widgets are made out of widget, and every screen that you see is a widget in Flutter. So one takeaway that you have to take from this today is, everything is a widget in Flutter. So, what are the common widgets? So, we have this. There's a lot of widget, but then these are some of the common ones that that I wanted to put it because it's the beginner level talk. So I just thought, okay, the safe area widget is the widget that provides padding around its child to avoid the overlapping of the operating system operations. For example, if you go to a mobile and you don't want to place your application on top of the status bar, right? So you can have it inside the safe area. So that would help the application not overlapping on top of your status bar. So the scaffold widget provides a basic material design, visual layout. We'll just see that in a moment for material app. And it is a single top level container for most material apps. So it can contain properties like app bar, body, floating icons, and stuff like that. So understand that whatever goes in the app bar or body comes under the scaffold widget, and then the rest of them should be pretty evident. You have text widget, images, container, list view we'll talk about, and also buttons. It could be a flattened button or a raised button. So everything is a widget in Flutter. And there is a if you go to there are a couple of things. If you go to pub.dev, somebody posted if you go to flutter.dev, you can see if you click on the widgets on the left hand side. I can also show it to you at the end. There's a list of widgets, and there's also, if you go to YouTube, there's something called as weekly widget. So there's a lot of widgets that keeps coming up every week. People create new widgets, and that's one thing as well. So here is a visual for how the scaffold looks like. What's the app bar text? What is a safe area? And what is a column row? If you have designed something before, this must be pretty evident, right? So now here's an example. Here's a demo application on the left. If you see, there is a app bar, there's something inside the body, and then there's also a button at the bottom. So if you see on a mobile, the first thing you would see is a scaffold, and then also followed by the app bar, which contains the text with a title, Flutter demo homepage. And then below it is the body. You would see two columns here. One containing the text with how many times, and then the other one is a numerical value. And then the last one is a button that you would see at the end, which contains an icon. So understand that this is how it's all getting laid out. Everything is a widget, like I said. So I'm going to swap my screen if I can. Just give me a minute. Okay, let's see here.
If you have Deepa, if you find problems with it, just follow through the presentation, I guess, and you can talk through it and let
Okay,
us know.
sure.
Okay.
I can talk through it. So I'm going to pass this. So if you look into this demo, hang on, let's put it. I'll also share everything at the end. So if you look into this counter app, this is what I was talking about. If you see there. And note that there are a couple of things that you would see. There is a class which says stateless widget, and then there's also stateful widget, which we'll be talking about it in a moment. Let's. I'll.
And sorry, Deepa, and she means the chat. So she posted a link on the chat, guys.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll also share the whole presentation in a moment. Just give me a minute. Hang on. Where is this thing? Okay. Oh, crap. Hang on. Okay, yeah. So if you look into that, if you see that counter app, you will have stateless widget and stateful widget, which you see on the screen. If you look into the basic code in there. And stateless widgets are something which would not have a state, which are static, and then you can have icons, icon buttons, and text. Stateful widget could be forms, sliders, even text that can be changed as well. So text is something that you can make it stateless, or you can also make it stateful too. So Now, when I talk about stateless widget, you would see if you are aware with this class, if you see this is a class with stateless widget, and it says that strings are immutable, right? If you say that, if you see here, this not immutable, here the name is going to be whatever you give. So that's not going to be changed. So that's something that I wanted to talk about. And then stateful widgets are immutable. If you see in the counter one, if you click on that floating icon button, it has have a mutable instance field. And then if you see, there's something called a set state. So it set state will notify all your UI updates, and it sends to the stateful widget, right? So this is something very similar to use state in React. So yeah, then moving on with what are the things that you could Flutter works with. You could use for the IDE part, you can use VS Code, Android Studio, Xcode, and things like that for integration with, you can also do integration with Firebase for authentication or hosting, or database, real-time database and stuff like that. And it uses Android APIs, iOS, and you use Material Design. And it can also use third-party iOS SDKs and Android SDKs. So there's a lot of options to pick and choose from. And you can, if you're still familiar with Redux for state management, it still can work with as well in Flutter. So how do you set it up, right? You go to the documentation. I'm not going to go through every single thing. Make sure that this is just a simplified version of it. You install the first Flutter SDK, set the path, and then once you do that, Flutter Doctor, especially if you're using Mac, make sure that there is if you're using the current Mac, there are some hiccups that I tried to install with my new laptop, with a new Mac OS. If you install Jam, you have to uninstall it, reinstall it. There's some hiccups, but then the documentation is very clear. If you follow that, then you would be able to install the CocoaPods. So once you do that, and then you run Flutter Doctor, it gives you what are the platforms that Flutter is available for you to build. So how do you create a project? You say Flutter create, and then the project name. And then once you do, you can do Flutter run. If you want to specifically say for Chrome, you can say Flutter run with Chrome, or you can use Flag. But you can also use the IDE that provides you those options as well. So when you do that, you have a project folder. And in the project folder, if you take a look at it, you would see Android, Android folder, iOS, and then you would see Linux, Mac OS, and web. And you would also see something called as main.dart. This is where all your code goes in, and that will get compiled. So this is the entry point for your Flutter application. And there's something for dependencies. If you want to add, there's a lot of packages available. I'll be showing one of the examples. So if you want to use if you want to use Flutter packages, you could have them, and then make sure that you also put it in your pubspec.yaml. There's a dependency file, and it's very similar to your package.json. So once you have it, all your code goes here. This is the main. It'll have it in the main.dart file. Okay. So you can also abstract them. So now moving on to the list view. List view is very, very simple. You can create, if you want to create this is a code snippet for creating a stateless widget. So inside this body, if you want to, here I have mentioned it as a list view here, right? So list view is also a widget, sorry, which can take in children, and you can have whatever titles you want here. The icons are coming from Material Design. So I am going to have to swap this. Let's see, I can also put this. And if you go check into this, I'm posting this file as well on the chat. And just do if you go, before you run this thing, just go check inside this folder, inside this dartpad, using, just say Control F and say list. you would see where is that list being used for. So if you look into line, the very first line would be on line 60. You're creating a class for the list class. And then if you go to line 68, it uses the state list widget of list class. It's getting extended. And then if you go to something called as silver list is also a widget. It can place multiple box children in a linear manner. And there are two ways to do listing. One is the silver list and silver grid. So this is a list that we are doing it. And then if you go here, down here, where's the thing? Okay, if you go to line uh, 207, we are just getting those dummy values from the server. Inside the server class, we are calling them. And then if you go to line 232 is the one that you would see the weekdays listing here. So this is a very, very small example. And if you scroll up, you would see the top part, the horizons where they're getting it's getting collapsed. So that's one of the very small demo that I wanted to give. And then going back to, hang on, where's this thing? Okay, so this is a list view. And then if you go to the second one, navigation is just, but you're just mentioning the routes. So here's an example of routes. So I would be showing a demo, which I don't know whether it'll, no, I'll post the link again. So if you see the code here, you are inside your material app. Like I said, material app is also a widget, right? So you can have routes. This is your home screen, and then you would go if you want. Once you have the sign up screen, it'll route to the welcome screen. Just give me a moment. Let me try to. Oh no, this is not the navigation. Oh yeah, this is the navigation one. Let me post this. If you run this one here, and note that if you run this one, if you look into the line 19, it's a sign up screen and it's a stateless widget. So if I start typing in on my first name, note that there's a small progress bar at the top, which would change color. So it'll change to an orange one. And then if you type in the last name, it changes to yellow. There's a very subtle progress bar that goes on. So once you have the username, the sign up form button gets enabled. So it's in line 54. If you look into it, it is a stateful widget. So it creates a state. And then once, if you go to line 136 on press, it'll show, okay, if there's anything entered, then it'll show up. Once I click sign up page, it'll navigate and it shows welcome screen. And if you do a search on this code snippet for welcome, it'll show you can see the code. Basically, this is how navigation works. So going back, cool. So what are the companies that use Flutter? There's a lot of companies that use Flutter. Google mainly uses for their Gpage, Google Ads, and stuff like that. Toyota uses it, and then I know Alibaba uses it. So a lot of companies use Flutter, and then it is backed up by a huge community. So if you go to pub.dev, you would see a lot of packages people are posting there. There's a lot of packages available for Dart and Flutter, and this is the third most open source contributing in GitHub. So there are more than 1 million apps created using Flutter. So take advantage of it. Get involved with the community. There's something called as a hump day that happens every week, and I think it started already for this year too. And there's also, if you go into YouTube, you can also see if you want to get started with, there is a Flutter apprentice program that happened a year back to get started as well. So current trends, if you look at it, the interest of Flutter has gone up over, I think 2020. It started going up, but React, React Native remained about the same. So, however, this I picked up from trends.google.com. So Flutter definitely has a lot of potential here. So worldwide, if you see where Flutter used, it's it's used in almost everywhere in the world, except U.S. and then and then South Africa too. So a lot of places, Flutter is very popular. So yeah. So how do you use this? So if you want to start off from scratch. That's a great thing. And then if you want to do a prototype idea, you can quickly prototype it and start having something. And you could also bring from, if I have a Flutter web app, I can also convert this um, to a mobile app or a desktop app uh, per se. And then if you want to have parts of your application in Flutter to just test it out for production, you could still do that too. So here is I know this. I don't know whether you can see. If you are pretty interested, I created this. Um, I created this. If you look into this and go to step 7 in here, there is this is, you can build it on your own. You can build your own clone of Linktree. And if you see, there are some animations added. It gives you step by step. This is one of the takeaways. And note that this, I have used it in a column. Try to use list one. And if you also go to step 5 here, I've used, no, step 4. So I have also added a social media package. So this is something that it teaches you as how to pick up a package and add the dependency, and then you can have it in your app. So try to explore this if you have time. And also yeah, this is something that I wanted to give away. And there are also other resources. You can start off using code labs. There's a lot of learning that there's also a resource available, and there's demos available. If you go to code labs and then check for Flutter, you can get started from there too. So finally, the takeaway is you can build, with Flutter, you can build beautiful UI, beautiful applications like this. And you can also, Flutter combines native performance and quality with high velocity development and multi-platform reach. So you can build for any screens that you want. There are people who have used it, and even they are trying to explore Nintendo Switch as well. I know that if Roman is very much into IoT, he does with home automation and stuff. People use it um, for printing stuff, and they also use it for a lot of other different. You can also use it along with embedded as well, as an embedded software. So just to give you a summary, what we saw, we talked a lot about Flutter today. You learned what is Flutter, what is Dart, what is a widget, how those three-layered architecture works in Flutter, and we quickly saw the list and screen navigation. Also provided you with some resources here. So I think we are about time. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
So we have, if you can give us a couple of minutes for questions.
yeah,
So there is a couple of the guys have a couple of questions.
cool.
So they're asking if it is true that Flutter doesn't use a native UI for the mobile platform. A
Mm,
native UI for the
no,
mobile.
no, they don't. That's the whole thing, right? They use,
Mhm.
like I said, it uses something with material design and for iOS. But however, internally, when you see when it gets compiled, gets compiled in a native way, but it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, and most of these platform guys they use embedded, basically the embedded browser engine to
Yeah,
render HTML. So that's how all these cross-platform tools really work behind the scenes. They may compile the shell, the container, but then everything is rendered on the browser UI. Another question is, when Gemini will be integrated with Flutter.
Oh, there is something that's happening there. I did see a couple of take a look at the code labs. There is something that is there with Gemini AI. I tried to see it for web, but I'm sure that it's coming.
Okay. One question for me, or feedback also, it would be great to have all the resources maybe on
Oh,
a
yeah, sure,
GitHub
sure. I
project.
am just going to give it to you in a moment. Just give me
Yeah.
1 minute. I'm trying
If you
to.
if you build a GitHub project, so everyone just could join that
Yeah.
project, follow it. It'll be
Um,
great. That way it's easier for everyone to have all the resources together.
yeah,
But
you can check into, if you go to, if my site, everything is available there. So just give me 1 minute. Let me just
so,
share. These are
yeah,
the
yeah, but we're running out of time. But definitely, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Follow us. Continue to follow us. We have more great content, web development, AI, database development. I do work a lot on GitHub repos for web platforms, for cross-platform, for data engineering. And thank you, Deepa, for such a wonderful presentation. This is another option of React Native,
yeah.
Xamarin. I used to use Xamarin at one point. I hated it. It was just too convoluted, too complex. But thank you so much, guys, everyone. Thank you. Happy 2024, and we are looking forward to speak to you again. Thank you, guys. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much, Oscar, for having me. It was a pleasure. Happy New Year to all of you. And I posted the slides there. Please go take a look at it. And if you have questions, please reach out to me. I'm very active in LinkedIn, not on other platforms, but please do reach out to me.
And everyone, we are actually recording this presentation, so watch out for the emails. Please take a look at the videos, give us feedback, also fill out the surveys. That helps promote the community. Thank you, everyone. Happy 2024. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Oscar, just a quick question for you.
Yes.
So I'll reach out to you via email, but then uh, do you need anything else, or how many people attended? Do you know any count of